My name is Francois. I'm originally from Oudtshoorn. It's nice to say it when your hometown is actually being represented at grassroots level. Just a side note on just a bit of history of Oudtshoorn. It's always nice to start with a history nugget. Is the feather industry? We all know it was booming, a century ago, and a lot of people don't really know it, but it was the fourth highest export product of South Africa after gold, diamonds, and sheep wool. So the wool was still better than the feathers for a while. And one of the reasons, one of the main contributors of the feather industry just collapsing in the early 1900s was because of the roofless car. So all the fashionistas couldn't wear the feathers in their boas anymore because obviously the cars were driving too fast. This is not true. This is what happened in the UK. It's a real story. It's in history. Yeah, they couldn't do it. So, cars, So I'm privileged to open this session, and it's going to be led by Ian Cooper, the director of Ukwanda and one of the founding members who started this great movement of Radasa, and Jackie, who has her roots in OT, who went from Manguzi, rural, and you're now, I believe, back in the more urban setting. We're excited to have a nice interactive session. You can take it away.
Okay. So this is the first time Ian and I are doing a PACE workshop together, so we hope we can do it to the end without fight. Maybe if you can come join us in the circle, because we're going to be interactive. So I'm doing the introduction. So I want to ask you, what way can we introduce ourselves? Because every time it comes to introduction, I just want to decide, okay, which part of myself do I introduce? Is it the professional? Is it the home? So any suggestions? How, maybe we know each other. How should we introduce ourselves? That's any suggestions?
I think it's nice to have introduction.
So what would you like to know, Helmut? Okay. Okay, so if we can introduce ourselves, where are we from? Where are we now? What are we getting from it, and what will we take back? If you can keep it short, maybe to a sentence. Yeah. A name might help as well. Yeah.
I'm Pam Groenewald. I'm from the Medical Research Council in Cape Town. And I came here because I'm passionate about using routine data for decision making. And I wanted to find out how rural doctors feel about data. And John Lotz gave a fantastic workshop this morning.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ntabi Sen CBC. I'm a professional nurse. I work for RHC in Tshwane, but I spent most of my professional life in the Northwest Province in the rural district, Dr. RSM and Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. I've always been working in the HIV field, and I am here because my love for rural was what do they call, what's the word? Stimulated by working in the rural areas and the realities that I saw but mainly for the communities. So this platform gives me a chance to work with rural health workers on the ground,
Great.
but harnessing their leadership abilities to lead within that space.
Sure, thank you. So if we can just keep it brief because we need to go. Otherwise, you're going to run our workshop for us.
I see. So my name is Nompumelelo Mahlambi. I'm a clinical associate and I work for my own company doing adolescent health and men's health. So I'm here to basically see how, as a clinical associate, how we can actually contribute fully and to also access places of funding. Thank you.
I work for Africa Research Institute in KwaZulu-Natal. This is my first rural health participation. I really wanted to be here so that we had some few challenges as we work in a very rural area, and I wanted also to get experience from other colleagues on the field.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, I'm Herman Wolf. I used to work at Madeleine Hospital, which was very deep rural, but I'm now working as a GP in Robertson. So I'm here to get inspired to still contribute to rural health.
Awesome, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jacques Lloyd. I'm a disability consultant, and I've been quite involved with peer education, peer training, and I've trained the peer supporters for Mareka at Manguzi and various other places in South Africa. And I just want to look at the inclusion of consumers within training.
Nice.
Hi everybody, I'm Franco Pizia. So I originally come from the city and then worked in Malmesbury for 12 years. Now involved with Stellenbosch University's Rural Clinical School. And I'm here to learn about learning.
Hi everybody, my name's Josh. I'm born and bred rural from little village Zitulele in Eastern Cape. I'm actually a student at the moment, so I guess I'm here to find out more about the ways that students can learn about rural and contribute from it.
Welcome.
I'm Colin.
Where'd you come from?
Where did I come from?
Why are you here? What you going back to? Brief.
Okay. Well, in terms of rural, I spent time in Manguzi with both Ian and Jackie, and more recently in Malawi. But right now I'm involved a little bit with Stellenbosch. I work currently for MSF, Doctors Without Borders. So I'm involved in developing a few online trainings with them, and also a little bit with the online training through Stellenbosch Ukwanda. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Peter Hodkinson from UCT Emergency Medicine. I guess I'm here to understand how to broaden our horizons a bit for emergency medicine beyond urban tertiary and on the levels of teaching, research, medical service, and so on.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Tabisa Ngagaza, born and bred in Eastern Cape, working for KZN District Hospital in. I am here because of the passion I had after realizing that being comfortable in the offices is not helping. Rather, I must go to the people because they need my services. And those people are out there in the rural.
Thank you. I'm Helmut Reuter. I'm Herman's brother. I come from Namibia. I spent rural time in Namibia. Supported Lusiki ARV program, and then I started Ukwanda Center. I was there for 5 years, and I'm now in internal medicine. And I just hope to get a lot of inspiration from everyone who's here, and I want to have impact on how we train undergraduate and postgraduate people in the larger field of medicine.
My name is Carl Leroux. I'm from Zitulele Hospital. Been there for about 15 years, but coming to the end of my family's time there, and I'm here at DASA because I always found it super inspiring, and because the people here are so nice and so inspiring, and yeah, just here to mostly just to reconnect, but also to look at some things around some TB research that I've been doing, and so I'm hoping to connect with some people about that as well.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Silingene Ngobo. I'm from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. My first time here. I'm a community health nurse. And I felt this could be a very good platform for me to be part, and it has been amazing. Thanks.
I'm Zolihle Blessing Shonga from KwaZulu-Natal College of Nursing, where I'm just lecturing as students. So I'm stationed in the campus situated in a deep rural area, and then with the learners, dealing with the learners from deep rural areas. So I was so interested to be placed in that campus because I'm interested in the services and how to deal with the learners from a poor family until they are fully grown to become the professionals. But what worries me is for them to be interested to go to overseas, since we've in the past few weeks, I've signed some documents for learners who are just willing to go overseas. 10 of them, they are just gone to overseas. So I'm just here to get the trap, how to trap them into a rural area.
I'm Tracy Hudson. I used to work for Africa Health Placements, and now I'm with Pro Talent. And I'm partnering Health Education England to place their specialists in rural hospitals as volunteers. So I'm looking for more rural hospitals to place their specialists. Thank you. And hello.
And I'm Margie Mannings, or was Dr. Hardman. I'm still birth names. And I'm presently working in the George sub-district in palliative care. And I think while I've come to this workshop, I seem to have all of a sudden got medical students back for training that I've got to evaluate and train, and also training teams in MDT, all disciplines.
Good afternoon. I'm Fundiswa. Fundiswa is long. They call me Fundi. I'm from Worcester, working at a rural campus for WCCN as a lecturer.
Hi, I'm Warren. This is my colleague. We come from the same place. So yeah, was a keynote speaker for our organization, but also I'm here to learn from the multi-teams and see how can we improve our interrelated relationships in order to improve care that we give to the patients. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Carl Potgieter. I think I'm the only dentist at this conference. But I'm situated in the George sub-district, and I'm really much interested in seeing how we can build teams to improve public oral health service delivery in the rural districts.
Thank you. Thank you. So we all have a passion for something and making a difference. So hopefully we can explore some of that.
So you've taken us a bit by surprise, I'll have to be honest. We sort of thought we might, if we're lucky, get 8 people. So we will adjust as we go along to how we're going to do this. But what I'm going to do is just explain what the Facilitation for Learning course is. And I can't actually see it from sitting there. So I'm sorry, I'm going to need to just stand here while I do this. So what facilitation is a process of making things easier. For those of you in therapy, you're very used to facilitating people to move better, but more broadly, it's making anything easier for something else. And in the context that we're talking about, it's the process of making learning easier, which means guiding learners to do the work of learning, encourage them to take control, focusing on process more than content, focusing on relationship, which are things that we often don't experience in health professions education as undergraduates or postgraduates. And it's much more than teaching or training. Learning happens really when there's safety and trust. If somebody doesn't feel safe, it's very difficult to learn. Learning is about being open to possibilities, and this kind of learning, facilitatory learning, is about exploring ideas together. It's not us saying, you know, these are the ideas, you must adopt them. that's saying together what his idea is. Learning values collaboration because it understands we all bring something different. Paulo Freire talks about the fact that it's not that some of us have less knowledge and more knowledge, we all just have different knowledge. And it's acknowledging the different knowledge. And it's acknowledging too that that learning is lifelong, and we are all learners together. Whatever stage we're at, we are learners. So I'll explain the program in just a moment, but as we started building this program, this course, we had discovered that amongst us, the group of us, the team you saw on that first slide, we had common assumptions, or other people had assumptions. One of the assumptions we did have, I think, but that we saw that many other people have, is just something we all can, and we actually don't feel that's true. We also have this assumption if you know something, you're going to do something. But actually, I mean, we know from, counseling patients about health issues that the gap between knowing and doing is vast. And thirdly, that if people have knowledge, you give them skills and you motivate them, they'll change their behavior. But we know behavior change is much more than that. So our assumptions as a group in terms of trying to address this is that we need to model facilitation in whatever we're doing and unpack the facilitation as part of the learning process. So this course we set up is completely trying to model facilitation. You might have noticed how Jackie did the introductions. That was already starting to model facilitation. We must be comfortable with questions and uncertainty rather than focusing on answers and absolutes. That need to be better facilitators is a process, just as facilitation is a process. And it's all about an ongoing process and reflecting on our practice and learning through that. That facilitation starts with ourselves. And that out of ourselves, we form relationships with others who are learners alongside us. So we're all learning and we're all teaching. And that the concept which we were given when we were asked to develop this program, it was a train the trainers concept. And we said that train the trainers doesn't necessarily foster skills of facilitation. So the background to this is that we're part of a broader project which has been doing HIV/AIDS training called STRIPE, and then more recently COVID training across Africa, linked to AfriHealth, which is the African Forum for Research and Education in Health. And they developed a learning management system, and they've got a whole lot of courses there, but they need to have people who will facilitate those courses because it's a very focused, interprofessional, small group, case-based scenario training and requires skills in facilitation. So we were asked to kind of develop some process. I think they thought a workshop to train facilitators. Well, we came up with something that was a bit more than a workshop, which we're still working on. It's going to be mainly synchronous sessions, contact sessions online every week with tasks in between. We'll be using the learning management system for readings and discussions. We're using a basket of educational strategies and technological tools. We're going to model the concepts as we go along, and we're using a common metaphor, which is about boats and how you navigate along a river. Can we switch then to the other slide? So this is how we've laid out the program for the course. Next one. So you start there, then we have an orientation session, which is about getting to know what we're doing in the course. Next one. Then there is the first unit, which is about the facilitator as person, using the concept of the navigator of the boat and reflecting on our own facilitation experiences. Next one. Unit 2 is around boats in the water, relationships, safety and trust, and how we build safety and trust. Next one. Unit 3 focuses on engagement, sinking or floating, exploring deeper learning and dialogue. Unit 4 is collaboration, team sailing, how we address issues of power, hierarchy, diversity, things that we're often reluctant to confront when we're in interprofessional groups, but are critical. The next one is practicing facilitation, getting people to actually do the facilitation, practicing that. And then the last one is reflection, mentoring, looking at the next steps and how we go from there as we sail into whether it's a lake or an ocean or another harbor or what we go into next. Thank you. So that's how we've conceptualized the course. So for each of those, we're actually also introducing technological tools that people can use. And they're listed there. You can see I've only listed the new tools that get added in each unit, not the ones that we use repeatedly. So it's building up people's repertoire through using these different tools. The idea is we're developing it because it's across Africa. It's very difficult to do it in person, face-to-face, costs and so on. So we're doing it online, but we're assuming that the facilitators may do it online or in person, providing resources, as I mentioned. And it's conceptualized both as a course to train clinicians who want to be facilitators, but also people who are in the business of developing facilitators. And we'll come out to discussion on a range of things, and those are some of the things like, you know, how long and what's the usefulness, etc. So the idea today was to get feedback and input around some of these concepts and to try some of them out with you.
Thank you. Any immediate ideas that pop into the head or responses? There's a thought, isn't there? Next one, yeah. Any idea? Any? So what Ian and I are really wanting to do is try to get feedback, responses that informs the course. So these are our sort of, it's the outline. So if there is any comments. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the outline now. I'm curious if you've got any sort of practice events for the people on the course, or practical things that they'll be doing or trying out, maybe.
Okay. So our next activity, we'll actually go into an aspect of Unit 1 as what is you'll be as a facilitator, and then a part of Unit 2 as practices. And then we'll test that one out.
It's just a question for clarity. So if someone takes this course, what would I be able to do?
Facilitate learning. Facilitate learning.
Facilitate learning.
Yeah.
As in
any learning?
Any learning. Okay.
Yeah. So it could also be facilitate learning in terms of the consultations. It doesn't have to be in terms of knowledge, but it could be an approach in terms of facilitating understanding of a condition, a disease. Yeah, so it's facilitating understanding, learning. Try to get the person to navigate their own journey, yeah, their own learning or condition. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For online, yeah. Is there any, but you recording it? Yeah. And recording, yeah.
Does it bring it? I know all of us learn in different ways. So does that sort of develop? Does it look at all of that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you so much. I just want to find, I feel that facilitation at whatever level is very good, and wherever, I mean, whenever you can actually improve your skill, why not? For me, I just want to find out how long is the course, and yeah.
At the the moment, it's 6 weeks with tasks in between. Yeah. Did you want to ask? No. Okay. Yeah.
So I did the longitudinal model of rural school in Robertson in 2017, and Francia practiced a lot of this facilitating with Quibus. I don't know if Quibus is here for you. So they practiced a lot of the facilitation on us. And I must say it was like really a enriching experience to have case-based studying and to be motivated for learning through facilitation. But one of the big struggles for me was how do you as a facilitator, and I don't quite, maybe you can explain in which one it fits in, but how do you motivate the person that you facilitate to continue to, because it's very much sometimes self-directed, you're having to come up with learning objectives and you're having to kind of, push yourself to learn a lot. And how do you measure that? And how are you going to build it into the course of motivating the person you facilitate and then measuring, are they keeping up? Because that was my biggest fear, I'm not at Tigerberg, so, am I keeping up with my peers? Am I learning enough? Because it's it's a different, but very potential. It has a lot of potential, and it's a much nicer way of learning than the old school way. But that's just that was my biggest struggle and fear.
Yeah, so you kind of touching on the support in learning. Am I right? If I'm understanding, I don't know if Ian wants to make a comment, but what I would, between the sessions, there will be group tasks where you meet together, and then that becomes your sort of learning support. So you go between each unit, you go to a task that's done as 1 or 2, 3 individuals, or 2 or 3, then go back. So it's kind of that's.
Yeah, it's just say, this is really just an introduction. This is to help build, as I said, a network of people who can run workshops in a facilitatory way for the kind of program. But we hope it won't be just for AfriHealth. It'll be for many examples, and it's to start people on a journey. We're also assuming that this is for what we're building it at the moment is largely for people who can be running professional development kind of things where people are motivated to attend, in the start, and therefore motivated to learn. Yeah.
Yes, I think you just answered my question, because I just wanted to have more clarity of what the main objective is, or what you want to actually achieve with this and who your target group is. But then on the other hand, I do a lot of facilitation and peer education training and all those things, trainers with people with disabilities, and it's a total different ballgame when you look at that, and diverse groups and people that are, as mentioned, that are learning in different ways. How do you include this into your model?
I just wanted to get a sense of, is this where you're lodging this under? Is this through the rural school or through Department of Education Department? I'm just interested in how much it's going to cost, and what are the are you going to have an exam at the end, or is it all just interesting?
Yeah, thanks. And just before I answer that, because that I can answer, and some of the questions we can't answer, and that's part of it, is just to be, exploring the questions. So, maybe we don't have an answer for everything, but yeah, this is a funded project, which is funded under PEPFAR through UCSF. That's why I mentioned it's specifically related to HIV/AIDS training and COVID-19 training that was on the AfriHealth web. But part of what we said quite clearly in getting involved, we see there's a much broader, usefulness around this. It's a skill that is common around many, many things. So we see, but because of that funding and so on, the expectation is, at least in the beginning, it's going to be free, because there's funding for it. Obviously, the funding runs out and you need people to facilitate. But one of the things we also trying to ask ourselves as we go along, how can we do it in a way that actually people can take it up and run it themselves, that it's not requiring the time of kind of experts to help run it.
Thank you, Prof. This is lovely, but I just asked myself, how does it differ from the other facilitation courses that we know? I do a lot of clinical training as well. At RHC, we have accredited courses. We train people to be facilitators and mentors. How does it then differ from that kind of curriculum? And another question is it accredited? I mean, in terms of what qualification do you get?
Yeah, no, it's not a qualification. There'll be a certificate issued by AfriHealth, and we'll presumably get CPD accreditation once we get there. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that makes it different is that this is not focused on content at all. So we're not saying this is how you provide training for HIV. We're saying this is how you facilitate interprofessional, small group, patient-based learning, or other kinds of discussion. And some of our colleagues in the program have developed some facilitation guidelines and courses which are very kind of structured and didactic. And we said that doesn't fit with our understanding of facilitation. So it's some of it is a philosophical difference in the approach.
Sorry, I'm also on the South African National AIDS Council civil society representative. I'm the leader for the disability sector. So I'm interested in hearing what you are saying now, that this is focused on HIV and that it is focused, that it's actually sponsored through PEPFAR, because PEPFAR's got zero focus on disability. So I hope that you will definitely aim to include disability within this, and not just that, you make sure that you train some of your facilitators or people that you are using in your team as people with disabilities to take this forward to the disability sector. And secondly, I'm also the community representative on the Health Professional Council for Physiotherapy and Dietary and Biokinetics. And I think it's really good that you need to look to accredit this for CPD points, because otherwise, our people are already crowded with having to learn things.
Yes, certainly CPD points is a query mark. Yes, and including people with diversity is certainly part of that, and addressing that. Like how the details, but certainly in principle, it's certainly that as an underlying philosophy.
I have a question.
So we're just discussing how we manage the different number of people that we expected.
Okay, I have a question as well. I'm not sure, since people are asking about this course, when are you planning to start it? And when you say 6 weeks, you're gonna go into details like from each week, like how many hours per week that people have.
The course will be 6 weeks, but it's probably about 4 hours of time per week, we're guessing. So it would be about, it's a 90 to 2 minute Zoom, and then in between reading and preparation. So it's probably 4 to 5 hours per week commitment.
I have two questions. There's going to be a free course. Okay. I've done a free course before through Stellenbosch, and usually you must have a Stellenbosch University student number able to do it. So will this be the same with this course?
Yeah, so although we're doing this as a project under Stellenbosch, we're linked to AfriHealth, which, as I said, is the African Forum for Research and Education in Health. They have a learning management system. It will be through that platform because it's a continental activity, not just in South Africa. So it won't be on the Stellenbosch University platform.
Okay, I'd like to check, are you earmarking a certain region or a certain province, or is it free to all, accessible to all, as long as you are here as rural? Secondly, the 6 weeks, is it a continuous 6 weeks, or you split that 6 weeks? You take a week in a month and then another week in another month?
Okay, so let me explain the process. We're developing the course. We're going to run the first iteration of the course in October, November with a group that have been selected by AfriHealth. We're not calling it a pilot. It's the first iteration of the course. We'll learn from that. One of the things we want to know is it's actually 7 weeks, so it's orientation and 6 weeks, but we want to know, should we have 7 weeks in a row like that, or should we have 14 weeks or 13 weeks, with sort of gaps in between, or what's the best way? The sort of current thinking is that people rather commit themselves for 7 weeks and get it over, but we're not sure of that. Into next year, we will then do another iteration with a bigger group from AfriHealth. But we hope by next year, and depending on funding and so on, we'll be able to start making it available to more broadly in South Africa. And I mean, how many people we can take on a course depends on how many people we have who are available to be facilitators for the course. And the rollout from there is very much going to be dependent on, the response and the funding, etc. So it's all a developmental process. We are learning through the process as well, and we're going to see where we go. Well, let's say it's sometime into next year. That's as much as I can tell you in terms of a time frame. We will, as I said, run the first course this year, but that's specifically for an AfriHealth group. They've identified 20 people that will be in the first iteration. Okay, can we go?
Yes, thank you very much, Prophet. A good cause.
Just make this the last question and then we'll move on. Thank you.
Yes, so that is a good cause. So I'm just willing to ask about the credits that are being accumulated here. How many credits is?
We're not following a formal NQF process, so there's not formal credits in that way. One of the long-term things that AfriHealth is thinking about is they're thinking about creating a program for health professions education, and maybe it would fit into that and it'll become more formalized in terms of credits and so on.
Okay, but it is a structured with the well-maintained content.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, if somebody asked about exams or earlier, there's going to be assessment, but in this form of expecting people to do reflections around the program and submit those. Okay, so we want to start, do one of the exercises with you, and it's partly, again, for you to experience it and to, give us some feedback about the process. So we want you to think about this metaphor of the boat. And think about, when you think of yourself as a facilitator or as a learner or as a clinician, however you want, but particularly thinking in the domain of learning and facilitating learning. What kind of boat are you? Think about the sort of boat and just think what comes to mind. And then we're going to ask you, we'll form you into smaller groups and ask each person to share what kind of boat you are. And then for the other members of the group, just to reflect on what comes to them when they hear that. So what comes to mind for myself, what kind of boat am I? I think I'm one of those big rubberized blow-up boats that you use if you do whitewater rafting. You know, and it's about trying to guide the boat so you don't turn over in the rapids and you don't bump, but actually the boat just takes you where the river takes you. So that's the kind of boat, and then you might respond to that in terms of what comes to mind for you in that boat. But you don't need to give the whole explanation. It's saying what sort of, so I mean, I gave you the whole explanation, but just to say I am, you know, see myself as one of those kind of boats, and maybe people can reflect back to you what they think that means. And so, yeah, we'll come around to help you. So if we form groups of maybe 3 groups, so 4 or 5 in a group if we have three groups. So just form together so you can be close enough to hear each other. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Thank you for the first exercise. We're going into another exercise, and we'll stay in groups. We're going to do Unit 2 relationship. So it's an exercise of that. So we're going to safe space, which is part of relationships. So the question is, can you think of a person, a place, or a space that is safe for you? And then, like, what is it about this person, place, or safe? A place, space that's safe. And then the second part of the question is, how can you make that safe place, space, person into a learning space? So what aspect of the safety can you facilitate in a learning space? Yeah, I'll repeat you. Yeah, I'll with you.
Okay, can we wrap that up and come together again into the whole group?
Okay. I'm saying she's turned. Okay. Any reflections from those two exercises? Yeah.
In health, and so there's a problem. I need to solve it, and so to think about what kind of boat I am is not something I do that regularly, but it's quite nice to be creative about it. So thank you.
So you actually enjoyed it?
Enjoyed it, yeah.
Even though it stretched you?
Yeah.
I'm glad. Any other?
Okay. So I think you obviously did a very good job of facilitation in our group, because we, you know, I don't think we've met, any of us have met each other before, and we were sharing all sorts of things that you wouldn't think you'd normally be comfortable sharing. So we had a safe space in our group, which was nice.
Well done.
So I think our group was also feeling that maybe the metaphor of the boat didn't work equally well for everyone. And it depended a bit of how they viewed boats. A person coming from Durban, so big ships, and just didn't feel that there was anything that they could faintly relate to. Whereas I think others thought it was quite nice because it allowed various thoughts, and different from the road to somewhere, suddenly the river, borders, crossing, safety, food, fishing. So there are lots of nice different thoughts that came from it. And I think what was good, it broke down the barriers in the group. And I think it's just what Pam said. So we suddenly started talking about personal stuff, and it was not particularly personal, but people could say, I'm more that way inclined, I'm more that way. I quite like my self-owned space that I can control, where others would share it. So I think in that way, it was a very good idea to have the boat, to let people start thinking about it. So that was good. Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay. There's not anything else burning. Okay, there's a request. Can we just hear a comment from your group? How were the exercises?
Okay, Malka. Yeah, we're sailing. It was interesting because our group, we went from kayaks to speedboats to passenger ships to coal-fired steamboats. So it was really interesting, and it was nice because you could actually, it's just nice to open up like you just said now, to open up with people that you do not know in a way that's not too personal, but you also reveal a bit of yourself. And one can only do that if you do feel there's a safe environment and a safe space to do that. So yeah, it's interesting it almost feels like now you know the people in your group, but you haven't even really met them. So I think the whole analogy worked quite well.
Great, great.
Yeah, I think part of the success in our group was that Ian started. It might seem a very simple step, but you just putting the process, initiating it, and making yourself vulnerable, I think it makes it just so much easier.
Absolutely, yeah. And not that vulnerable because you're putting it onto a boat. You're not opening up everything, we're just linking it to.
I was surprised at how many boats could be used as metaphors. I didn't think there would be so many.
Yeah, no, our group, everybody had a different sort of boat in mind. Was that in the other groups, a different boat? And in your group? And then did you find a boat?
line.
Was fascinating in our group. We did have two boats the same, but they meant different things to the two people. For the one, because they were cruise liners, both of them. But for the one, it was about control and about, cruise line, you plan, you have a time, etc. For the other one, it was about so many things are happening on a cruise liner. I mean, there's just so many different activities and it's busy and you can,
Do you want to make a comment about your cruise liner? Do you? No. Okay. Okay. Ian's going to do a.
So maybe before I go on.
I mean, sometimes we feel comfortable to, in the smaller group, say something about something. But suddenly, if it's opened up, that safety is taken away. And then you don't know the group yet. So I think that's important in groups to keep the safety. And that's not a criticism at all. It's just observation how this happened.
These faces that I don't trust, and it's no longer safe. So it's about us being aware how safe places shift in when we move spaces. Then the safety shifts as well. So thank you very much for observing that.
So one of the things we haven't quite decided in terms of the course is, do you have people in the same groups throughout the course to help promote safety? Or do you change it up to promote diversity and learning from people from different backgrounds? So that's something we haven't resolved yet, that we're still thinking through. I think one of the sort of new insights I had from our group was talking about, we talked about vulnerability and creating a safe space, and actually realizing there's a little bit of a paradox there. So it's around creating safety for people to be comfortable in being uncomfortable, comfortable in being vulnerable. And it's that balance. Safety is not saying we're not going to have discomfort, that we're not, everything's going to be just on the surface and okay. So it's, a bit of a dichotomy there. So one of the things that we are looking at in terms of sustainability is the possibility of actually developing a mentoring program. So in fact, for this project last year, we'd already tentatively developed the concept of a mentoring course, but then the project came to an end at that time and the funding and whatnot, and then very complicated. We suddenly got funding again in May and had to suddenly rush and do things again. And they encouraged us to look at that idea in terms of a way of supporting people going forwards, or not necessarily, whether it's that same group or not. So it's just really to hear from you about the value of a mentoring course. And I want to say something a little bit about mentoring. And one of the reasons for the question is that a number of people have offered mentoring and there hasn't been buying, there hasn't been take-up. Jackie was running a mentoring course for therapists and I mean, people didn't sign up for it. I mean, mentoring program, actually to offer a structured mentoring process for a number of weeks. The Academy of Family Physicians has invited a number of us to be part of a group to be mentors for newly qualified family physicians. And, you know, they having taken us through a process, they then advertised it, and I think they got 2 people who actually said they wanted to be mentored. So, you know, is it something that people don't want to take up? Is it something people don't understand? What is it? I don't know. You know, and our idea about mentoring is very much about walking a journey with somebody. It's not about, again, it's the facilitation. It's not about teaching and training, but it's around being there and supporting someone. So I'll come to you now.
Can you hear me? I've just asked that same question about half an hour ago to it's a new word for me, a precept. Precept. And I asked, what's the difference between a mentor and a preceptor? So we had our sort of, I think you explained it to me, but I'd like to see how you see it.
Well, I'd like to hear what other people see, but no, I think, yeah.
During the course of my study, I had to differentiate between the mentorship or mentor and a preceptor. So just to add on what you were saying about the mentor, it is that person that walks a road with you rather than a person that is a set goal for a time limit. So that's the difference between the two. So the mentor is your guy that, okay, I'm struggling. I'm going to for you a WhatsApp, stuff like that.
And I mean, the other thing that people ask is what is the difference between a coach and a mentor? And again, the coach is sort of somebody helps kind of with certain goals or whatever towards that. But I mean, they're different definitions. But our idea is kind of creating a process to support and train people to be mentors, to walk a road with somebody, and that as facilitators, that is something, a role that people can play. But so I'd really like to hear, is there something that's needed? Is it, why do you think people don't take up the offers? Is it an idea we should be pursuing? What are the thoughts around that?
I think for myself, we'll say if something like this was going to go up and the question would be posed to me like, would you apply for it or take part of it? I'm just still a bit unclear, obviously not being in an academic environment, as to what the end goals of it is and how will it in what sense will it help me in the workplace. So when we're hearing now about mentoring, but for me I'm thinking, but mentoring who? And in which capacity can I mentor someone in the workplace? For me, not being in a teaching environment per se. So just a bit of clarity on how that can assist me in my everyday work environment.
I don't have answers to all of these. It's really to raise the questions. So I'm interested in hearing other questions, but that certainly has come up, and other people have said, well, isn't mentoring something that just happens, that you don't structure?
Yeah, I think that was sort of my musing or whatever. If you offer mentoring from outside, it sort of feels uncomfortable. It does just happen. And if you're fortunate enough to work with somebody who is just takes you through the process and you learn and whatever. So, I don't know. It's quite tricky.
I think that mentoring is probably it's something that's been lost, and that some people are lucky to get and have informally. And I mean, if you think about the whole, I think of most professions, in the old days, you'd be an apprentice to someone, which is a form of mentorship. Like that was how we learned. I mean, everybody learned through apprenticeship. Everybody. There was no university, it was apprenticeship. And so I feel like I think it's a critical aspect of development as an individual, as a human being, as a professional. And I think and perhaps what one should be doing is making it more, not like voluntary, but it's going, you will have a mentor and this is how it's going to go, and I don't necessarily know that we know how to mentor either. So I think perhaps before you do that, you need to kind of teach people how to do it. But we have an NGO around Zitsville called Sihamba Sonke, and they are an NGO that focus on young men who don't kind of do well at school, who kind of come out of school with very few options in life. And their focus is on mentorship. And they are incredibly strong on mentorship. And it's and often these are young men who have no role models. They're young men who don't know their fathers, who don't have examples of men who are responsible and kind of in their context or in their area, and that mentorship has been incredibly powerful, and the impact that has on these young men is incredible. So, I don't know enough about it. I feel like it's a thing that we've lost. I think that's the thing that we need to refine, perhaps.
Thank you. I will just make one comment if I'm on the right track. Is it about mentorship? Okay. There's a whole lot of literature on the benefits of mentorship and how the lack of it, therefore, within the healthcare professionals and the detriment that it causes. So the new drive now is that each healthcare professional group needs to be mentored. It should be mandatory, basically, because it will, So, what is interesting is that a mentor should not be somebody, from the same similar group or same, it could be anyone. So you can, in fact, you're just learning from anybody. So, and Prof did mention that learning is lifelong, and you learn from, and nobody does, everybody knows something that you don't know. So it's about being open-minded, and you normally learn better in an informal setting or informal, So mentorship for me, I think in all aspects of our lives, whether it's spiritual, professional, education, academic, we all need mentors in one way or the other. Like I'm a mother of 6, I still need a mentor. Thank you.
Just quickly, again, in terms of the low uptake, maybe, I think how will it be incorporated into the work, into your normal work schedule? Because we were all, especially in clinical areas, again, we are low resourced. So where is it something I'm going to have to do now in my free time instead of spending time with the family? Now I've got to put in 4 hours on the mentorship. Will it be incorporated into the workplace? And will my manager at work, will he or she also feel that it is something worthy? Or will they, so just scheduling it and how it fits in the whole workplace scenario, and how will your upline management perceive this? Is it necessary? Won't they feel it's necessary? Stuff like that. Practicalities.
Good question. I see Helmut or Francois Zorile. And then after that we'll stop. Then we need to bring this towards a close.
Yeah, mentorship for me, it speaks of a special kind of relationship. It's very much a learning relationship which both parties need to buy. And we try to get mentorship going for our final year medical students. And we had a fantastic workshop of how it would work and set out guidelines and this and this and that. And it didn't work. And the more I think about it, we came to a position where we told our students, listen, mentorship's a wonderful way of learning. Here's a set of principles. Go and look for a mentor. And some will take it and some won't. But we can be catalysts of mentoring because we've got to try and sell the value of it and sort of create the environment where that relationship can take place or happen. I mean, you were talking about the hours issue. Mentoring is so satisfying when you can share something you've learned. But that's why I got into medical education. I mean, I thought, I wish somebody taught me this. Now I can teach it to somebody else and help somebody. You have that sense of helping somebody. So it's win-win in many ways if when the circumstances and everything's right. And it's sad that so few people buy into it. I'm not sure what exactly that catalyst is.
Thank you. Can I just share a story? In 1984, as a senior registrar, I was doing obstetrics, but then I changed to PEDS. I was a medical student who was from Germany. We're friends till today. And this was spontaneous mentorship. What I would like to say is that whoever you are, where you're significant, you are mentoring, whether consciously or subconsciously. Because somebody is watching you, somebody is following you, somebody is learning from you. So formalizing mentorship is just helping you with tools. Then the second point I want to make, therefore, okay, let me go back to this German student. He's very busy labor ward in King Edward. And when I have a little tail that's following me to every corner, I then get quizzical about why this guy always around me all the time. So I asked him, I said, you're not going to learn enough if you're going to just hang around one person. Follow the other guys as well. He said, you know what? I don't learn anything from those guys. They've got no time for me. You and I, just without you even focusing on me directly, there's so much I'm learning. So I'm saying, therefore, natural, spontaneous mentorship is going on all the time. But what this probably does, as I see it, is that it gives us the tools, firstly, to be conscious about it and then manage it well. And secondly, to be a bit structured so that then you know what you're doing. And of course, then that you reflectively try to see what's the outcome of what you do. Then the last point I want to make is integration into what you do. It doesn't have to cost you more time at all. It doesn't need your boss to approve it. It's a skill that you're going to take even outside of your professional space and find yourself using it on your kids and other people in your personal space. So just giving it a name mustn't threaten us.
Thank you. I think I've said most of the things I actually wanted to say. So the WHO actually has guidelines for mentoring, just to guide countries as to how to, go about mentoring. And working for a district supporting partner, we follow those guidelines and have adapted them to suit context. So I agree that it needs to be practical for the working environment. It needs to be structured as much as it can be spontaneous. But it also depends in what setting are you in. When should it be structured? When should it not? Experiences from NIMAT mentoring showed us that healthcare workers prefer mentoring journey where they are going to gain something at the end of the day. So they would be certificated, acknowledged at provincial level. So how would we mentor where we are, to encourage people to keep doing what we are teaching them if we don't, give anything. I'm speaking as a representative of rural nursing South Africa now. If I go out there to the nurses always want to hear what you have for them, what are they going to gain, not just being mentored. In addition to that, as we mentor others, we should, as we always look to being mentored by others, we should need to transfer the skills on an ongoing basis. Thanks.
I'll make the last one and then.
Yeah, I think most has been said, but certainly from my own experience, I feel very prone towards mentoring. I feel very positive about it. And I was a year ago appointed formally as an early career mentor. I'm completely bad at it. I can't get it right to get the appointments with a person. So I'm really comfortable at the more informal mentoring, and I'm really not good. Or the match between the early career academic and I just doesn't work out. So I think it's really important that I think that we should think that we're mentoring all the time, that we must do it all the time, that we should have skills to do it. But for some places, the formal program is maybe not the best. In our Department of Medicine, we asked the registrars who wanted to be mentored and who not. Nobody wanted to have a formal mentor. Everybody thought it was a good idea to have an informal mentor. We also just an exit of registrars. Those that did well, they all had some sort of mentor. Those that didn't do so well struggled to identify mentors. So I think somewhere there's this clear message that mentorship works and it should be there for all healthcare professionals, but the way we do it can sometimes not work for either the formal mentor or the formal relationship with the mentee.
Thanks, Helmut. I've had the interesting experience of the AfriHealth that I was talking about. They run a leadership development program, and I've been a mentor last year and this year, 2 mentees in each case. Both last year and this year, I think it worked well with one and not with others. So, you know, that's, yeah. Anyway, Jackie will finish us off.
Thank you for the discussion. And I think what comes to me is that we need the skills for mentoring. We are mentoring anyway, whether we're mentoring well or badly, but we need the skills. So I think you kind of answer the question that can a mentoring something be thought of around skills and building up skills rather than a formality of it. Am I summarizing correctly? I see some nods, yeah. So we need to end off this time. Did you have fun? Good. Good. So I'd like to know, maybe we can pass around, we'll start this time, can think maybe a word, maybe a sentence, or one sentence. What have you taken away from, what will you take away from this workshop? That could be one question. You could answer that. Or you could, I'm asking you, what has shifted for you in an understanding around facilitation from this workshop? I'm giving 2 questions. You're welcome to answer either. Just keep it breathed. No easy questions. Just a word or a sentence, whatever pops to mind.
Yeah, what I take away from this is that so learning doesn't have to be always structured. So that spontaneous learning that happens all around all day long, and you learn from everyone. So yeah, so for me, I came with the structure, but it doesn't always have to be like that. So,
yeah, I think for me it is that the value of learning it's constant. It's happening every day all around you, whether you think you are busy learning or not, you are, and the value of communicating and also getting other people's insights and ideas and just their feelings and emotions about things. So it's not because sometimes in your head you think, no, I'm in the right direction, but if you start engaging with other people, you see now, but maybe my direction is not the right one. So just to get input from other people, I think it's a valuable learning tool in itself.
What I'm taking home is like, in order to people wants to be in a safe space in order to learn, they need to develop trust between the facilitator and the people she's facilitating or he is facilitating.
I think this gentleman, yeah, just something triggered, I think, when you were talking about, and I thought back to the people that I've learned the most from. And it was just informal working with other doctors. And it wasn't just skills, it was values, how they treated patients, and lots of other things that you just absorbed.
So I'm doing a talk on communication, funny enough, at a seminar, and you've changed my whole talk. I had it in one place, and now I'm going to be doing lots more communication and interaction. Thanks very much. It works. It was just lovely to meet new people and just interact with them. So thanks.
I've learned that from the safe space in the group, each and every person came out with different opinions. But while the instructor asked us to convert, how to make now to change each and individual space to be a learning space, how can you make it to be a conducive space now in learning? Then we have realized in the group that there are commonalities that must be there in a learning environment. You are expected to cover them before you are saying that this environment is conducive for learning. It took us back to what has been presented by Warren. And then we've said that we need to look at the characteristics of an agent and the characteristics of the recipient. Thank you.
Thank you. For me, what I've learned is it's a lot. I've learned that it's very beneficial to be helped by your neighbor. You remember that you've helped me so much. And you are not even here, but you could hear. Thanks.
Sorry, I was just listening, but I just want to add something. If you don't have that connection, you won't be able to mentor. So that's very important to get that connection, then mentor, and then change your perception. Because sometimes we sit here and we've got our own perception. But if we don't listen, connect, and be present in the now, as Oli said, you won't be able to make the difference. So get out of your comfort zone, because again, this gentleman also said, there's a lack of it. Because why? The people don't want to. Why don't they want to? Because they think they know too much, or I know everything. It's not always that. Get out of the box, change your perception. Let someone else also teach you something, but you need to mentor them and they will mentor you.
Yeah, thanks. I think I just learned again how important it is to be exposed to different thoughts, different ideas, different ways of facilitation, and that we can always learn from that. And that clearly for different settings, for different learning outcomes, different ways are needed. But I think what's always the same, that there needs to be safe space, there needs to be open communication, there needs to be openness to learn from everyone, and that we're always aware that we all learn this.
What I have learned is that it is so important to embrace all diversities so that you are able to correctly respond to different scenarios and situations as a facilitator.
I thought it was thought-provoking. I think I and a lot of us consider ourselves experienced teachers and lecturers, and yeah, to think through facilitating and mentoring versus teaching was useful and insightful. So yeah.
I think what was quite powerful was how you guys were facilitating us, but your end goal was to learn from us. And that as a facilitator, if you have a genuine interest in what your group or your mentees' perceptions are, if you're willing to learn from them, I think they'll be more willing to learn from you as well and to follow your guidance.
I thought my mentoring frustration with a formalized program was unique, but I've learned that it's not so unique, and that we're mentoring all the time. I haven't thought about that. I mean, it's, yeah, role modeling is a different form of mentoring. So yeah, thanks for that.
I agree. That was the same thing. And I was trying to reflect on why the formal is harder than the informal. And perhaps it feels like the informal is more genuine or more authentic. And so if somebody's just following your example as you are, versus if now I am the mentor, now you must follow me, it might, there's my go, well, is this really him, or is he just putting on a show for me? You know? And so maybe that's why the informal mentoring is so powerful. That's what I think I've got out of today.
I've got to be careful that I don't let you speak before I do. Because I'm going to duplicate you now. But just, if I may just say two things. Firstly, very interesting, no names mentioned, but I I enjoyed listening to everybody expressing who they think they are. And there was one particular a person who shared about their mentor, what they enjoyed about the mentor. But in expression of who they are, I'm going to follow up with that person to figure out why the two don't speak to each other. And then the second point, I've forgotten now. What was the second point? Oh my goodness, it's gone. Are you going to give me a second chance? Because that was the more important point.
Thanks.
It's coming. Sorry, guys, I'm gray-haired. Please forgive me. Give me the honor. It's the fact that I don't know if you guys were intentional about this, because what you give to anybody before it is what you have, it is actually what you are. And that's what I experienced just when we're having our little group there. What you are counts more or sets the stage for what you have in what you share.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this session. It was very enriching for me. Just a few words for me: create a safe space. And you must be non-judgmental, and as Zodile said, people are watching you, so you should know that consciously or unconsciously you are mentoring someone. So you should really be careful how you behave yourself around.
Cool. So when it all started, I was confused. I don't want to lie. But then when we got into the groups and we dissected everything layer by layer, then I was like, oh, okay. So what I learned is whenever you're about to learn something new, just like take the first step and don't be afraid whether you're scared, just do it and you'll get it.
Thank you. What I learned and I'm taking away from here is that learning doesn't need to be rigid, and it's okay to be vulnerable, be it you are a mentor or a mentee. But equally powerful is being able to admit that you are vulnerable and not put up a show. Thank you.
Yeah, I think most of the things that I got from it have already been said, but I think the honest communication and the really listening is you made it look so easy, so you sort of think, how could I make it easier for others in a similar setting?
Thank you, guys. I learned that boats make great metaphors. Thank you for facilitating. You're welcome to close this out. To take us home.
Thank you for the feedback, and I'm glad that everybody gained something. And I'm just amazed at the richness of what we take out of it. And it's not always from what Ian and I said, but it's the richness from what we've given to each other. And so, yeah, thank you for this time together and helping us. And I'm interested in Josh's comments and observations that we're facilitating, but actually we really wanted to know your advice. So it's that mutuality in the workshop that was necessary. Yeah, I've learned the richness of it and the diversity and how people engage with each other. And as a facilitator, it's about setting the stage and creating the space and engaging and listening. And then people see that and just sit and respond and, and it's almost infectious. Yeah. I don't know if I'm saying.
Yeah, the feathers were blown off there. Yeah, I think for me it was the fact that what we're trying to do, it seems like it works. Because yes, it was deliberately trying to facilitate the way that, that we want to be running the course as a model of facilitation, which I'm not saying we perfect by any means, we're all learning together, but it's meant to be a facilitatory process. That's what we want to aim at, and it feels like it works. So that's good. Thank you.